Hi, friends, welcome back to the Know the Game podcast. In this very exciting and super special episode, we will talk about some of the rules, not all the rules, but some of the rules about which can make you successful at your workplace. Now, as you know, that this podcast is entirely about your careers and how you shape up your careers, how you become better, how you become important, how you become the best at what you do. In this series, the biggest thing that people keep on asking me is that what are some of the things that we should do that would make us successful in our career. I don't have an exhaustive list of anything, but let's start try to understand which are the rules that you need to follow, which will somewhere or the other help you become the best version of yourself and become successful at your workplace. So the first thing I have to tell you is that fortunately or unfortunately, there are no rules. The only rules that you need to follow in your career are the rules that are set by your company or your organization regarding incorrect and malicious behavior, regarding laws and rules that are supposed to be followed in the office, but it is not pertaining to your career, but it's pertaining to your behavior. What you should be following is a set of general guidelines, and these general guidelines you have to tweak them according to your taste, according to your situation, according to the place where you are in, according to what your ambitions are and whatnot. So many things can be done just by understanding what are the things that you should be careful about, what are the general instructions you should be following. So let's quickly get on to it. The first thing that you need to look at while you are talking about a success in your career is integrity. And when I say integrity, it means no cheating. So you would say that, sir, come on, everybody knows that they should not cheat. And so as I'm saying that it's not as simple and as straightforward as that. And a lot of people have different understandings of the word cheating, of the word integrity issues, of the word malicious behavior, or the word anything to do with when you're trying to genuinely or not genuinely, intentionally or unintentionally, if you're trying to hurt someone or somebody gets hurt by some means, that's of course a sign of incorrect behavior. And this incorrect behavior is what typically falls under the ambit of moral related aspects. But then it's not only moral. There is something which is called as moral, there's something which is called as conscience, and there's something which is also called as ethical. So a lot of difference and a lot of flavors of being honest in all these three. While a lot of things which are morally correct might not be ethically correct, a lot of things which are ethically acceptable are not morally acceptable, and a lot of things which are ethically and morally okay may not agree with your own conscience. And this is where I'm saying that you have to define your own limits, define your own borders. Of course, it has to be within the general sense of morality and ethics as humans should operate in, but at the same time everybody has their own limits and everybody gets away with something or the other. So instead of people trying to follow one rule and one set of morals and ethics across the board, you have to define your own morals and ethics. And you have to bear in mind that the more liberal your morals and ethics are, the more chances of success are possible, but then it also translates into a lot of pitfalls which you may encounter along the way to your success. So as you know, career is not a one time activity, it's a very long journey. 25, 30, 40 years is what you will be giving to your career. And for small gains, doing some incorrect things will only lead to trouble. And if you don't fall into any of the traps, without just doing what you do normally and just being mediocre at things, you will still make a good life out of your career. So why to even try to do something which is incorrect and morally and ethically incorrect, and try to reach somewhere where you don't even need to go there? All you have to do is just be ethically and maintain your integrity all the time, so that you are in the best possible probability of succeeding at your workplace. The second thing what you have to look at your workplace is, now workplace, you don't work alone, right? Even if you're working from home, you're always collaborating with people, you're collaborating with teams across geographies, across time zones, and of course a lot of times you're also working with your clients also. So in such a scenario and in such a situation, do you think it really makes sense not to be socially acceptable? I think that's going to be a big no no. And if you are not socially acceptable, and if you're not able to control your emotions, especially anger, frustration, any kind of extreme emotions, I think somewhere or the other it will fall under the line where it will impact and hurt your chances of success and which is very very important for you to understand that. Make sure that you are socially acceptable in the culture that you operate in. Now this culture varies from company to company, so maybe some companies are very open minded, you can just walk into anything, talk to anybody like anything, and nobody would want. As long as your work is getting done, things will be fine. On the other side, there are very orthodox kind of companies also, where if you go and work and if even if you take one step outside of the norm which is already being followed, there will be a huge number of repercussions, and these repercussions will actually not hurt you directly, but they would actually eventually, people will take chances at you and try to see where you can be actually put behind when it comes to success. I have seen a lot of organizations which look at this aspect very very carefully, especially on the higher side of the career, when you become a GM or a senior general manager or somebody like a deputy general manager or at that level. People do try to understand your behavioral and your social acceptability, not amongst yourself and not amongst your own team members, but across the organization. So you may be a great person, but if there are people in your organizations which do not like the way you conduct yourself, probably there might be trouble there. And the best thing you can do to avoid that is try to be more socially acceptable. And there is no key to being socially acceptable. The best way you can do that is to just keep your extreme emotions at bay. Keep your extreme emotions like anger, frustration. It could be just venting out at someone, or even you may be just really, really frustrated with the way things are, things are not happening or happening, or whichever way. All you have to do is just control those emotions and do not display them in public, especially with your colleagues and seniors and juniors and everybody else around you. Now, while you're doing that, don't you think that would lead to you not being the original you and not being the way? It would take you away from who you are. Actually, it would. So, in a context of this particular episode where we're talking about the workplace related rules and regulations and proper norms that you should be looking at, not necessarily following, but just looking at and be aware of, is that when I say that you have to be original, you have to be someone that you yourself are comfortable with, you yourself aspire to be, and you yourself are acceptable. And if somebody else behave the same way with you, it would be acceptable to you. So that's the kind of behavior that has to be brought in with your originality. When it comes to originality, there's another aspect where you have to be very very unapologetic for the way you are. So these are very contradictory statements, and of course there has to be a balance between all these things. You cannot be very very original and just don't care about anybody else around you, but at the same time you can't be just keep on caring about and just completely forget who you are. Then try to strike a balance between these two three aspects. And I think in a long term, especially a 5, 10, 15 years time duration, I think all these things already even out, and they all lead to, they do not impact your career in the long run at all. What they will do is they will just impact your day to day workings. And at the short term, let's say a 6 month, so there's something which is called as a recency effect. When people are interacting with you, they remember the past few transactions or past few interactions that they've had with you, and they will not remember what happened 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And this memory is very short term. It's a very very short term memory. So even if you have done something wrong in the past, or 6 months ago or 1 year ago or 2 3 5 years ago, you've done something past with to someone, and just you, if you're just genuine and apologetic about that particular incident and try to help them move on, I think it might be a good place for you to start also, and then for you to go forward also from there. Which brings me to next point that you should be very very careful about. Now the next point is something which is external, but it's very very important to you internally, which is called respect. When I talk about respect, always make sure that you give respect to receive respect, but at the same time never block respect and so that you don't, and never deceive respect. What I mean by this is that you have to make sure that you respect the right people, the people around you, the people who contribute to you, the people whose work and whose existence and who are part of your workflow in totality. And those people who are part of your workflow should, if they feel respected, they would probably reciprocate that respect as well. And that reciprocation of respect is what makes a workplace sane to work with and acceptable for everybody to work with. At the same time, just because you are trying to earn respect does not mean that you will try to block the respect of somebody else. If somebody is respecting somebody else, you have to by all means just get out of that way and let people interact with each other and let people respect each other. So if you enable this particular aspect where people are able to respect each other within your team, within your influence, or within your ambit of decision making, I think it will be a very very great thing for mutual respect to develop within teams. And this mutual respect is going to be so critical when you are actually making decisions, and when you are actually implementing those decisions, when you are executing things. This mutual respect comes a lot into picture. Learn about it from the army. In the army, of course, there's a grading system where, a rank holder, and there's somebody who's at a higher rank and a medium rank and a lower rank, and there's so much of respect from the seniors towards their juniors, and from the juniors towards their seniors. That respect is what allows them to even make the ultimate sacrifice of, laying down their lives without even thinking twice. So that's the kind of respect that you have to earn, and let people also earn within your teams and your colleagues and your area of influence. But don't just stop there. You have to also look at another aspect, which is called learning. Now, all of us are humans, are we are just learning people. We all, our existence is about learning. So what happened yesterday, let's say if I was a caveman and I went to hunt somewhere, I would see the way I just shot my arrow or threw my stone, and then the way it flung towards the deer, and the way it got hurt, and then I was able to get and catch the deer, and was able to drag it. Every time, every step of the way, I have been learning. And this is the way humans have evolved in the past also, in the present also. This is the way we learn and we improve. Next day we learn something, we improve the next moment, we learn. So we have, biologically, we are all designed to keep on learning all the time, and this learning is supposed to keep you improving all the time. So what you have to consciously do at your workplace is make sure that your learning never stops, and that spirit of learning just keep it ignited all the time. The best thing to do would be just to loop it up in the sense, learn something, implement it in your workplace, so that that learning will get fortified. Then learn more, and then that learning more, then you learn more, then you come back and implement it more. So you keep on looping it back with feedback and with proper implementation and practical about whatever it is that you're learning. And eventually what will happen is, in the subsequent days and in the subsequent cycle, you would actually see that from where you started, with this small compounding of change and improvement that you've done on a constant basis, you would have come a long way just in a couple of months from where you started. So that's a very powerful thing. And especially for success in your workplace, learning is a never ending process. Never stop learning at all. Now, a part of this learning is also communication. Now, which is the next point in our discussion about what are the general guidelines for success at workplace. So communication plays a very important role. Now, why does communication play an important role? That you may be learning, you may be having the best of the ethics and best of the moral fabric, you may be having the best of the knowledge, you may be having the best of the intentions and everything, but if you're not communicating it properly, and I don't only mean a verbal communication, but also communication about your body language, the way your gestures is there, the way you interact with people, the way you listen to people, the way you respond to them. There are so many aspects of communication which are linear and non-linear, which are apparent and not apparent. All these means of communication are something that you have to be very careful of. Of course, as I said initially itself, that you have to be socially acceptable by not venting out and not being angry, or just not fighting with people. But at the same time, you have to make sure that in the essence of everything that you have learned, you should be able to try to communicate properly. This communication would lead to a lot of things, especially, let's say, if you are making decisions, or you're communicating decisions, or you're negotiating with something, or you're trying to sell somebody something. There are so many aspects where without communication it is just not possible. So your success is very heavily dependent on the way you are able to communicate things, and the way you are able to tell people about everything in a manner. Another thing which is very famous and popular right now, and it's gaining momentum, is storytelling. So if you just mold your communication towards a storytelling approach, I think your communication would be much more impactful, much more lasting, and people would remember what you say by the stories that you tell them, and you associate your communication along with stories. So great leaders are great communicators, and great communicators are actually perfect and amazing storytellers. Try to understand more about it from any of the online resources. You should go on YouTube and search for all these things. All of them, YouTube has so many amazing resources about all these small skills and small hacks which can actually impact your success at your workplace. Next comes the physical aspect of things. Now, when I say physical, it's not the physical. You don't have to pump up all your muscles and start like this in your office. When I say physical appearance, it's just the way you dress and the way you are groomed and the way you are hygienically maintaining yourself. Now, of course, a lot of people have been working from home in the past couple of years and couple of months. A lot of people have been actually working in non-client facing roles. So suddenly this entire thought about, my dress doesn't impact my work, and all these thoughts about, I can dress casually, I can walk into my office in my slippers and nothing happens. Yes, nothing happens, but everybody notices that part. So if you're shabbily dressed in your office, even if you're, very very a very genius kind of person, and people like the way you work, and like the way you are contributing to everything, and everything is going great, still your shabbiness does impact and affect the workplace in certain manner. I'm not saying that all of us should be dressed in a very power dressing kind of way all the time, but again, some sort of a sensibility has to be there when you dress. It's a professional environment that people try to create, and imagine somebody is trying to build a company, somebody is trying to build a business, and the only way you can tell them apart from your work, the only physical indicator is the way you dress, by telling them that, this is how serious you are about that particular job or that particular role. But when it comes to success, now success is not on the same level. Success is, when you're trying to get to the next level, or the level after that, or the level after that. When you're talking about success, I think that's where you need to kind of you would have heard that, you should always dress for the job that you want. I don't think that's really the correct thing to do. It's a very ridiculous thing. So let's say if I'm some actress's makeup man and I start dressing like the actress, that will be a big disaster. And let's say if I'm a sales executive and I start dressing like my CEO, that will be a bigger disaster, and eventually I'll just get made fun of. So you have to dress comfortably and reasonably and logically, and ultimately you need to look smart. As you know, you communicate a lot with your attire as well. You may be going for power dressing, casual, semi casual, hot, slutty, traditional, comfortable. There are so many shades of this particular aspect of your workplace and work life. I would strongly recommend that do not try to be a wannabe. Simplicity is very, very underrated, and people do notice simplicity in all forms and in all manners. If you are able to just go and wear a normal shirt and a normal trouser with a clean set of shoes, and if you're a female, you just dress according to the way you feel and the way you're comfortable across in the office, I think that would be the perfect thing to do. And no need to add a lot of jang bang to what your attire and what your dressing is. Oftentimes I have seen that over dressing yourself for any occasion, especially at your workplace, will actually kind of bring you into the notice of everybody else in a slightly negative connotation, where they would feel that, does this person have no other job than to dress up every day and come to office? I think that is one thing that you should be very, very careful about. And I've also seen one thing that, if you do not put up the, it's a balance kind of thing. So one side you have to put up little bit effort to, look slightly presentable. On the other side, you have to avoid putting in too much effort so that people don't think that you're a wannabe. So both the sides have to be balanced out, and I think the best way would be to just stick to simplicity and let your work do the talking, let your conduct and your communication do the talking, as opposed to your attire. Never dress for the job that you want, please. That's some jargon initiated and propagated by people. Please don't fall for that trap. Now, when you're doing all these things in your career, and you would start kind of hoping that, things work out and things take turn for the better, and your life and all the events happen according to you. One of the things that affects your mental and physical well-being, and a lot of things that affect your workplace related success, is what is happening at your home or at your in your personal space of things. Not everybody has the best of the personal life. Not everybody, in fact, what I know, that a lot of people are struggling on a lot, on either on a friend side, or on their partner side, or on their parent side, or some sort of a khichdi is going on back home. And when you are in the middle of this khichdi, the best thing you can hope for is just to put some curd on it and put some ghee on it, and just make a good halwa out of it and have it properly. What I'm trying to say is that have your khichdi at your home and don't bring it to your office. What I also mean is that try to compartmentalize your personal life and your professional life. Of course, you don't have to. When I say compartmentalize, does not mean that you have to never let each other, let these two aspects of your life face each other. Of course, you have to, a bit of you. You will always bring a bit of work to your home, and you will always bring a bit of home to your work. But at the same time, make sure that neither of these affects the other party. And it's the true for your work to affect your personal life also, because that's another highly unacceptable thing. Because the moment that happens, it will completely destroy or negatively affect your personal life, and your personal life will, if it get negatively affect, the loop will come back on the professional life. So the biggest thing that you need to do in your personal life is to make sure that it does not spill over to your work life, because your work life is supposed to be sacred. And the moment things start going from here to there, things are in for a big trouble. And if things are in trouble, you are definitely going to be in trouble, and the dream of success will start becoming more of a dream only. The best way to manage this compartmentalization of personal and professional life is to set limits. Now, when I say set limits, a very vague statement, but what I actually mean is set limits of two things: time and energy. So make sure that you don't give the time of your office for your personal things. Don't give the time of your personal things to your office. Of course, that's a no brainer. Everybody knows that. But also make sure that the energy is also compartmentalized. When I say energy, means if you drain up all your energy at your office and go home completely exhausted, there's no energy left. So even if you give your entire correct time to your family, and if you're out of energy, you will not be actually mentally and physically there. You will just be existing there. That actually is of no value. So make sure your energy is balanced on both the sides. Make sure that your personal life gets enough energy, and your professional life also gets enough energy. Speaking of energy, I think it is the way our lives are going. We take a lot of stress, especially regarding our workplace and this thing. See, and in the end, none of these things matter. Neither your workplace nor your personal life will matter. The only thing that will matter is you and your health, which is, mental, physical, and emotional, and spiritual, all kinds of health. So at the core of all these things, make sure that, none of these things affect your health, and get to your health. Protect your health at any cost. So all these things that we talked about are pretty individual in nature, right? So it is, everything is being done to you, for you, by you, or something related to you. Now, here is a very crazy and wacky thought. Nobody who became successful all by himself or all by herself. Everybody needs other people to become successful. When I say that everybody needs other people to become successful, it kind of becomes like a karma or a barter system or some sort of a interaction with each other, where you help people and people help you. That's the next point that you have to remember when you're talking about general guidelines to follow for success at workplace. So you have to make sure that at your workplace, not only are you perceived as a somebody who's always helping and always up to help others, you also have to genuinely help others, so that when your need comes to you to get helped, and when you need a help, people are there to support you and people are there to help you. It's a universal karma that works like clockwork. I don't know how that functions, but the more you help people, the more you start receiving help. So if you want to really be ready to receive help, you need to be ready to be giving help at all points of time. So this tendency is there where people actually don't really forget the people that have helped them. Did you notice this thing? I've noticed this all my life. So anytime I have helped someone, that person has always remembered that I have helped that person. And on the other side, if somebody has helped me, I also make it a consciously or unconsciously a point that, it just registers in my mind that this particular person had helped me at some point of time. This is a very beautiful thing, because except very small exceptions, those are the people who really do not care. Even if you help them, they will still behave the same, and they will still come back to bite you. Even if that is the case, where people are not responding to your help and do not appreciate you helping them, then also you have to make a point to help people, not because you are expecting them to help you back, but this cycle continues somewhere. So you help someone, somebody else helps somebody else, somebody else helps somebody else, and somehow the help comes back to you. It's a big circle of musical chairs. And if you want to really be finding a chair for to sit during that game, make sure that you offered your chair to somebody else. That would completely undeniably come back to you. That's a guarantee, not from us, but by the universe. But it doesn't stop there also. So even if you help people, how will you help people in the first place? What? You will just stand with people and say that, okay, I'm here to help. No, you're actually supposed to be doing the next thing on this list, which is being a problem solver. So every time everybody is going through some sort of problem, every team is going through some sort of problem, every organization is going through some problem, every customer is going through some problem, and what is it that you can do to them is to try to solve that problem. So if you are of a mental aptitude and mental ability to solve any problem, you should try to get into that aspect, and you should always try to be a problem solver. At the same time, you will find this very very funny in your look around in your teams. There would be a lot of people who are problem solvers. The vast majority of people in your team are actually problem solvers, but then there is a small minority which is also problem identifier. So they will essentially, these are the kind of people who will not be actually solving any problems for you, but these are the kind of people who will always keep on pointing at the problem. So these are the people who are actually the whistleblowers or the bell people who just keep on belling, sounding the bell, saying that okay, this is the problem, this is the problem here, there is a problem there is a problem, this is not right, this is not right, that is so there are people. So you have to be careful that whatever these people say, you have to make sure that whatever problem they are identifying is registered somewhere, and it should be on your list of, if you're a problem solver, it should be on your list of things to solve. These people are also very very important in your acquaintance, in your vicinity. There's another kind of people which is a very limited number of people which are actually the problem. So there are some people who solve problem, there are some people who identify these problems, and there are some people who will see these problems, but the people who are actually problem themselves, there is nothing you can do about them. For them, all you have to do is just ignore them, ignore those kind of people who are problems themselves. You will find some people like that in every workplace. But the good part is that majority of every workplace is not like that. There are just few exceptions here and there, and those exceptions are also temporary in nature. Nobody wants to be a problem by themselves, and nobody aspires to be a problem. Nobody ever said that today I'm going to be a problem for everybody. No, nobody talks about that, and nobody wants to be that. It's just that situations, and it's just that some of the things which are beyond these particular person's control makes them a problem for others. And if you're able to identify such people, just maintain a distance from such people till the time they realize that they themselves are the problem and they've already taken some corrective actions. Till that time, just make and keep some distance from them. With all these things, there is a high probability that by following these general guidelines, of course this is not an exhaustive list, there are so many else other things also to be done, but these are just the starting point of anybody, and just to register in your mind that okay, these are the things that have to be there. You will find some sort of success out of this. And when you find success, you will realize a very startling fact about success is that success is never permanent. Success is a very temporary thing. Success is like a butterfly, it will come and sit on your hands for some time and just fly away later on. And if you try to catch it, if you try to just keep it with you, you're just trying to strangle somebody or something that is just not meant to be there all the time. So if you want to make sure that success is with you, the best way you can try to do, what's the best you can try to do is to keep success with you for a longer period of time. That's all you can do. Surprisingly, of course, if the success is temporary, so are the failures. The good part about all these things, if success is temporary and failures are also temporary, and you're just trying to maximize success to be with you for a longer period of time, and try to push back failures as much as possible so that failures are not you don't experience a lot of failures all the time. The best part about it is that nobody remembers neither your success nor your failure. If you see around, you're actually living a life which is similar to you being very very new. Your first day in any new city where nobody knows you, nobody recognizes you with your face. That's the life you're living. Nobody actually cares. Even if they see you, they see through you. If they meet you, they meet you for a courtesy, and that's about it. Nobody cares. So if nobody's caring, what am I fearing in terms of judgment from people? The best thing to do in that case is to be fearless and keep working towards the success that I really really am looking forward to. I think that's the biggest message of this podcast that I can tell you. And in essence, everything comes down to how much you push, how harder you push, how deeper you push, and how farther are you willing to go with every push that you have in your body and in your mind and in your attempt to find that success. So while nobody cares and nobody remembers whether it's you're through a success or a failure, or because everybody is so occupied with their own success and failure, nobody has the time to understand whether you are in a success mode or a failure mode or success/failure mode. Nobody has the time to do that. So the best thing you can do is that make sure that people remember you with something. what they can remember you is with the effort that you put. If you put in a very very strong effort, if you put in an effort which is beyond anybody else, and you pushed so hard for your success and you tried so hard, I think, as you know, that your outcomes of your efforts does not depend on you. Outcomes depend on the universe, and the universe has so many moving parts that I don't think nobody in the world, even the best of the best of the people, are not able to control the outcomes of the, otherwise there would be, the great people would never face failure, right? So I think that's the way you have to look at life, and somewhere efforts is what makes you, and efforts is what determines whether you will be successful in the long run or non run, and this is what people will always remember you for. So keep making these efforts, keep becoming better, keep getting to know the game, because remember, always remember that if you know the game, you'd play it well. Goodbye.